Speaker, I yield myself such time as I may consume. Madam Speaker, if we defeat the previous question, I will offer an amendment to the rule to bring up the text of H.R. 336, the Strengthening America's Security in the Middle East Act of 2019. One of the four constituent parts of this bill has already passed the House by voice vote this Congress, and three of the four constituent parts passed the House by voice vote last Congress. The four parts of this bill authorize assistance and weapons transfers to Israel, extend defense cooperation with Jordan, establish additional sanctions related to the conflict in Syria, and allow states to divest from entities boycotting Israel. On the whole, unlike the resolution on the floor today, it will preserve and strengthen our relationship with our allies and reaffirm America's commitment to a peaceful and more secure Middle East. Madam Speaker, I ask unanimous consent to insert the text of my amendment in the record, along with extraneous material immediately prior to the vote on the previous question.
Without objection.
With that, Madam Speaker, I want to yield 3 minutes to my distinguished colleague and the chair of the Republican Conference, Ms. Cheney from Wyoming.
Nice for 3 minutes.
Thank you, and I'd like to thank very much my colleague, Mr. Cole, and for his tremendous leadership on this issue and all others as the leading Republican on the Rules Committee. Madam Speaker, if we defeat the previous question, we will move to bring up H.R. 336, the Strengthening America's Security in the Middle East Act of 2019. I urge the House to vote on this bill, whose companion passed the Senate with bipartisan support this month. Bringing this legislation to the floor, Madam Speaker, is not a partisan maneuver. It is an urgent matter of national security that requires action by this House. H.R. 336 includes two bills that enhance our security cooperation with Israel and Jordan, key U.S. allies in the Middle East that are active in the fight against terrorist organizations in the region. H.R. 336 also reaffirms America's unwavering support for Israel with the Combating BDS Act, a bill that empowers state and local governments to counter discriminatory anti-Israel boycotts. There should be no doubt, Madam Speaker, about the bipartisan nature of each of these bills. The Israel Security Assistant legislation passed the House by voice vote in September. The Jordan Defense Cooperation Bill passed the House by voice vote last February. The Syria Sanctions Bill passed the House by voice vote just last month. And last Congress, Senator Marco Rubio's Combating BDS Act gained the support of Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and a number of other Democrats on the Senate side. Most Democrat members continue to stand with Republicans in rejecting the Boycott, Divestment, and Sanctions BDS campaign. These members understand, as the Republicans do, that this is a campaign that too often seeks to delegitimize and demonize Israel. So, Madam Speaker, why not hold a vote on H.R. 336 that contains a bill called Combating the BDS Act? BDS is a campaign whose adherents have time and time again revealed their anti-Semitic motives. This is a campaign that directs its followers to avoid certain products merely because they are made in Israel. Armed with economic warfare tactics, supporters of BDS seek to isolate and punish the only Jewish state. That, Madam Speaker, is the dictionary definition of discrimination. Opponents of the Combating BDS Act often cite First Amendment objections to this legislation, but the truth is this bill would not prohibit individuals or companies from speaking out in support of the BDS movement, nor would it prohibit them from boycotting Israel. The Combating BDS Act applies to entities, such as companies, and their conduct. This bill cements what should be an obvious point. States have the right not to contract with companies that engage in discriminatory conduct against Israel. There is no reason I'd like to seek. Thank you.
Generally recognized.
In fact, many states already have laws on the books that promote that right. At its core, the Combating BDS Act protects and empowers states in their efforts to counter a hateful anti-Israel movement. There is no reason not to hold a vote on H.R. 336 that also includes legislation that authorizes security assistance to Israel and extends our defense partnership with Jordan. Helping our key allies in the Middle East ensure their security should not be controversial. And Madam Speaker, we are now at a moment in this House, at a moment in this body where we are facing real anti-Semitism from the other side of the aisle. And it is time, Madam Speaker, that we all come together as a body in a bipartisan manner to stand against anti-Semitism, to condemn it, to ensure that everyone understands it has no place in this House, in this body, or in our public discourse. These bills that we are offering today, if the previous question is defeated, are those bills that will recognize and symbolize American leadership and define American leadership, and I hope Democrats will choose our security and our closest allies over partisanship and bring H.R. 336 to a vote.
And ladies,
Thank
time's
you.
expired. Gentleman from Massachusetts.
Madam Speaker, just a couple of things. First on process, just so everybody understands. So we're bringing a bill to the floor today under a structured rule that has a bipartisan amendment and a Republican amendment. What my Republican friends are suggesting is that they want to bring up a bill and all amendments are blocked, with the exception of one, if offered by a Republican, sight unseen. Boy, old habits die hard. This is the way you were in the majority, and thank God you're no longer in the majority, but wow, what a lousy process this is. And then the second thing I want to say is that we're having a debate about Yemen. Right? About one of the worst humanitarian crises in the world, you know, where the Saudi government is bombing weddings and funerals and school buses, where thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of people are on the verge of starvation, where children are dying every day. And the previous question has nothing to do with Yemen. I mean, it's as if all of this horrific catastrophe that is now unfolding in Yemen doesn't even exist. I mean, how sad. I mean, this is an important issue, and we have a responsibility to debate and to vote on this issue because we have been involved in supplying so much assistance to the Saudi government, and not even a mention of this. So you know, maybe this doesn't matter to my Republican friends. Maybe they're perfectly fine turning a blind eye to this horrific horror show that's happening in Yemen. But I'm going to tell you, I think most people in this country, when they are made aware of what's going on and they are made aware of our involvement, are horrified. This is not what the United States government is about. And so, in any event, it's a little bit disappointing. Madam Speaker, at this time I'd like to yield.